Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today we have the patch notes for the Armor Wars 3099 Summer Days Amalgamation Update. And we're going to talk about all of the contents in the update that are coming to us very soon. Tonight is the maintenance. It's very typical maintenance. It's from, I believe, 7 p.m. Eastern to 2 a.m. Eastern time. So it's just a standard amount of time. And then we will get to see all this new stuff in the game, except for War Machine's Armor Wars Uniform. That will be unavailable, which probably means that War Machine is going to be the mid-month tier 3. So if you're wondering why War Machine's content and information is not in the patch notes, it's because, like Ebony Maw 2 updates ago, he's being kind of held back a year to ponder and sort of study just a little bit harder than the other characters. Additionally, I'm going to be talking about what I feel are community sentiments that I've seen, you know, sort of build up lately along the last like 2-3 updates, and I'm going to discuss and talk about why I think they're misplaced or sort of just incorrect, at least from my opinion, my perspective, and I'll give you guys examples, and there's actually clues on the screen right now for that. So anyways, let's jump into this. First of all, we got Dr. Doom with a brand new uniform. He's a native tier 2, so he's got the more expensive type of uniform like Dormammu, like Odin. He stays a villain. He's got magic, pure evil, and then he's got a whole bunch of buffs. Now, I'm not going to go through and read every single buff, you know, time after time. For those of you wondering where his third skill is, it's the same, which means there are no new buffs. There are no changes to it. It's going to deal the same amount of damage. Well, not necessarily the same amount of damage, but the numbers are going to be the same. The percentages are going to be the same. The cooldown is going to be the same kind of thing. So that means he retains his accumulation. He retains that beam, that all defense down, etc. He does get 5% more penetration, which is not very much, but he does get 50% all defense here and a bit more skill damage, bonus damage. These buffs here are going to be a little bit awkward because it's when he removes all debuffs, which sort of means that it doesn't necessarily mean that he's only for PvP, but it means that you're going to want to use his leadership more often than not, because you're going to want to trigger these buffs, especially the 15% chain hit and the 50% ignore dodge. It's a little bit awkward as well because it's an 18-second buff on a 20-second cooldown. But yeah, it is what it is. It's quirky, but we take the quirky ones, in my opinion. Captain America Falcon has a quirky buff, but it actually works really well, right? So you just got to find ways to trigger these buffs, and they become more interesting characters than they were before. He also has Ignore iframe here on his second skill, in addition to counterattack. We love those skills. I love those skills because, of course, Silver Surfer had the most infamous one, the sort of like little hand of spike of God, whatever that he does, where he just injects his hands into your chest. So yeah, and he keeps the 50% heal. So Dr. Doom is looking pretty spicy. Again, we're going to have to see how these uniforms play out. Will the curse, I put that in air bunnies, will the curse of the 3099 uniform be broken or not? Then we have Rescue's 3099 uniform, only character not getting accumulation. This is now something that I say in the patch note videos because people pay attention to it so closely. Did I get Mama's accumulation or not? No, Rescue does not get accumulation anywhere on her kit. Not even her awakening skill, but she does get a lot of buffs and team buffs. And for those of you guys that played Marvel Avengers Alliance, Marvel Alliance Avengers, I don't know, MAA, the Facebook game, whatever. I never played it, sorry, but people hit me up and told me in that game, Rainless told me in that game, Rescue was a very good defensive lead because she'd give this bubble shield to everyone. Well, they sort of brought the bubble shield back. They changed her leadership, and it's actually quite a bit better. All allies, when they drop below 99%, they're gonna get a 50% max HP shield for 5 seconds every 10 seconds. That's actually pretty good. Yeah. So it'll be interesting. It seems very good for PvE, especially for squishy characters. For PvP, it's going to be interesting to see if you can just penetrate through that, but not every character has like Sentry only has penetration on one skill, so we'll have to see. This could be very strong for both. It's definitely going to be good for PvE, and for, like I said, for squishy characters, but it might be good for PvP. She's also giving all allies 25% increased recovery rate. That's not much, but again, it's just additional group buffs. She also has a V-Pad skill, which is cool, and her third skill, Plasma Shield, which now will leave a sort of continuous bubble. It's not just like a pop, it's sort of a residual effect. It will apply a paralysis to enemies, but here's the more interesting thing. To allies, it applies a 35% heal and removes debuffs. So it's got a cleanse. Someone pointed this out in the comments. If Plasma Shield is Rescue's striker ability, we could be seeing another Ancient One. She would actually have the strongest striker ability in the game because it would combine Ancient One's debuff removal and it would combine Venom's heal. So yeah, we could be on the precipice of basically the best striker in the game and I'm talking for World Boss Ultimate and World Boss Legend content. So yeah, for those of you guys saying that Rescue has no value, she has a lot of support value, potentially. We got to see which skill she does. I'm crossing my fingers that she does Plasma Shield on her striker ability. The only thing that makes me think she's not going to get it, just to sort of temper your expectations, is the fact that it summons an illusion. Normally, characters that are strikers don't use their summon skill when they're striking, because then it would be really weird if Rescue summons got summoned. I mean, it'd be cool, but it would also be kind of weird because you're not playing as Rescue. But anyways, fingers crossed for that. She seems pretty good otherwise. Again, she seems like more of a support unit, so it might not be your speed, your tempo, but she certainly has her value, and she certainly is going to buff certain characters. Speaking of buffing certain characters, holy Toledo, if you are a fan of Iron Man, you're going to want to get Hulkbuster's new uniform, because this buff to Iron Man is insane. So let's check this out. He has a 3% heal under 99%, which is awesome. So he's got that auto heal. He's also got a 35% all attack lead to everyone. So they bumped up his lead by 11%, excuse me, which is really good. And then to Iron Man specifically, he gives an additional 70%. So if this stacks, that means he's giving Iron Man 105% all attack. That's crazy. Yo, Iron Man's not bad at all. Iron Man's pretty good for World Boss Legend, especially in the last 7 bars of Null and stuff like that. With this now, that's going to be bonkers. Now, again, to temper your expectations, it's not super meta breaking here. The issue is that Iron Man and War Machine, sorry, not War Machine, RIP. The issue is that Iron Man and Hulkbuster are going to clash in the sense that one is a combat hero, and he's not human, he's creature, and the other one is a blast villain human. Those, like the typing ones, the hero villain ones, and then the human ones are usually the most popular restrictions for World Boss Legend. So for example, you can use them both in Null up to stage 14, but from 15 to 19 you can use Iron Man, but you cannot use Hulkbuster because it requires humans. So yeah, and then from 20 to 24 you could use combat again because it's male hero, but you can't use Iron Man. At least you can't use the new superior Iron Man because he's a villain. So it's really good, but it's not completely busted. Okay, so it kind of makes sense there. He's gonna get a buff to more support buffs. All technokinetic allies are gonna get 35% max HP at tier 2. For those of you wondering, because they don't keep the wording the same, technokinetic means machine. I don't know why they just don't say machine allies, but yeah, if they have the little cog in their ability, then they are going to get a 35% max HP buff, which again is great for PvE to make squishy characters tanky, and it's obviously great for PvP. So he's already looking amazing from a support type standpoint of view, but then he's going to get all these buffs. Damage reduction along with a auto heal is very strong. He gets a counter attack with iframe ignore. Hulkbuster's looking like he's gonna bust more than just Hulks, bro. He's gonna be busting up the game. So Hulkbuster's looking very nice with accumulation and all defense down and paralysis and fracture and frenzy buffs. He's looking icy. He's looking icy. Speaking of icies, that's ICEE by the way. We've got Silk's new uniform. She is going to be the sort of paywall character where you have to get these Silk ice cream tokens. For those of you guys wondering, va-va-voom. Silk's thing is going to include Enchantress's summer uniform. So I'm not sure where White Fox is. I guess White Fox is going to be only on Christmas, so they're basically delineating between the two. Hopefully we get Cable coming back as well, because I need that uniform, but that one's for crystals. Anyways, you have this sort of standard overpriced token shop for the Summer Days uniforms, the same 30 token price, and you also have the mention of obtaining tokens through attendance, which is login, and by purchasing things. You can see here, Enchantress can be purchased with tokens from the store during the event. Check-in event, the tokens can be obtained from certain items, check-in events, etc. So you're going to buy things in the game, get 20 tokens, log in, get 10 more tokens for free, and then you'll have 30 tokens and you can buy her uniform. If you need 60 tokens, you buy her uniform as well. It's very straightforward. It's been the same way for a year now, for over a year now with these uniforms. Her uniform seems pretty good. She has a flat chain hit, ignore dodge buff. She gets guaranteed crit rate and all attack when she uses a web skill. Every single one of her skills is a web skill except for her fourth skill, which is by far one of the coolest animations they've ever done, throwing an ice cream truck and raining down ice cream cones. If you missed that, she has iframe ignore. She has a 25% heal. They really buffed Silk in a big way, which is very, very cool in my opinion. No pun intended. I think it's awesome for Silk. I cannot wait to try her out. And then Quicksilver is getting the Cable Summer Days treatment here, where his uniform is not going to be discounted, so they want to get you for the full price of the uniform. It's gonna rub some people the wrong way, especially because on paper Quicksilver doesn't seem that much better. He's got iframe ignore now on one of his skills. He's got a frenzy buff. He keeps his accumulation and his heal. He gets, you know, just a little bit more. He gets 15% chain hit. He gets a little bit more, you know, skill damage, bonus damage, just like 5-10% here and there. I think that the accumulation of all of these effects is going to make him very good, and it's also going to make him more flexible for PvP, where he just sort of fell off hard. But I still think some people are going to be rubbed the wrong way. Keep in mind, Summer Days Cable basically didn't change anything, but somehow he's still a DPS monster. So yeah, it's not always the proof is not always in the writing. Sometimes it's in the pudding. So yeah, they also buffed up his tier 3, which I think is really nice. They buffed up the I'm not sure if they buffed up the stats, but they definitely changed the animation, which hopefully means they buffed up the damage, because his tier 3 is notably weak right now. So yeah, those are the uniforms. That's it as far as uniforms go. Like I said, War Machine will be coming around later. These 5 characters were the last 5 characters in the game that needed to get their potential. So you'll now be able to unlock their potential and then upgrade them to level 70. That does not mean that they're getting a rework or anything like that. That does not mean that they're getting anything anytime soon. It's not a hint. It's not a clue. This is just, they're just sort of, we're just finally done having level 60 characters. We will never see another level 60 character. Once you get all these characters to level 70, they're gone. They've become extinct officially, because any new character coming out will already have their potential unlocked for you to get them to, you know, realize their potential and take them to level 70. We have Doom's new tier 3 skill, which looks very cool and has some pretty decent buffs here. We'll have to see how it looks. The only thing is, hopefully, maybe they could improve the Earth a little bit and make it look a little bit nicer. It's really hard to make perfect circles in video games. For people complaining that the Earth looks like square or, you know, octagonal, it's very, very hard to make perfect circles in any video game because of how video games work. I don't know. Ask a nerd. I can't explain it to you. We have the Awakening for Hulkbuster and Rescue. Looks pretty good here. One thing I did want to say, however, sorry, really quickly about Dr. Doom, is it says here 100% increase charge rate to the accumulate true damage effect. So some people were misinterpreting this, in my opinion. Again, I could be wrong about this. I'm probably not, because I've done a lot of anecdotal testing, but Sharon Rogers has the same effect. Crescent has the same effect. Some people believe that this means that it will automatically charge the accumulation for you, but that's not the case. What it means is that the increase of charge rate, like the how fast it charges, will be increased by 100%. So let's say, because he takes damage, because he accumulates based on damage taken, because Sharon Rogers accumulates based on damage taken, they have to take a certain amount of damage in order to accumulate the full amount. What this effect does is it increases the, you know, basically halves by 100% increase. It halves the amount of damage you need to take, in order to hit the maximum accumulation. It doesn't actually accumulate it for you. You could test that out with Sharon Rogers. Just use the 3 and then the 6 without getting hit, and then use the 3, get hit, and then use the 6. As long as you do them both the same and you hit the proc both the same, the second time is going to do way more damage. Way more damage. But yeah, anywho, just want to clear that up really quickly here. We also have reforging on the CTP of Authority. This is actually pretty cool because this is kind of a lame CTP right now, and it was just always being overshadowed by regen, but now it's much better, and honestly might be better than regen for certain characters, especially characters that are natively very tanky or who natively have a lot of healing and are just missing some of that damage reduction tankiness, because regen doesn't offer that. So it'll be very interesting for certain characters that heal. I'm thinking, you know, Cull Obsidian, maybe Gladiator when he gets a tier 3 and things like that. Essentially, they're adding a new effect. That's the other thing that I really like about the CTP, is they're adding this effect called Steal. And that means that we could be seeing Steal on passives or skill buffs in the future. Steal gives you a damage reduction. So it will give you a 30% damage reduction with more based on your concentration, which are red stars on your crafted cards. And then if you get the Steal on the Brilliant CTP of Authority, you'll get an even further damage reduction. So it goes from 30% up to 60%. 60% damage reduction for 6 seconds is pretty huge, and it will make certain characters incredibly tanky. So it'll be very interesting to see, like, what is going to happen if you give this to some characters that are already very tanky. Like if Icarus gets a tier 3, he's super tanky for a tier 2, and if he has this Steal effect, that's wild. I just can't wait to see this effect on skills or passives. But yeah, it's cool that they're buffing up sort of like a bad CTP. So now if you get this CTP, you can consider reforging it with one of its brothers to get a mighty, and you'll actually have a very good PvP CTP on your hands without having to, you know, hope and pray and cross your fingers for a regen. So it's better that they diversify the CTPs and make them all good than to continuously make the same CTPs good over and over again. So yeah, that's what the CTP of Authority does. However, it also has an additional bonus effect. You can see here when the gauge hits 100%, so it's got that like that gauge, that purple gauge under your HP bar, the effect will be applied automatically. The effects are guard break and super guard break immunity and decreased damage taken. So Steal, it does do the decreased damage taken, but it also gives you super guard break immunity. That's very interesting to me, because that means that you won't get rocked back in PvP during Sentry's 5th skill, Jean Grey's 5th skill. I don't think we've ever seen super guard break immunity before. I could be wrong, but this is the reason why they introduced it last update, where they changed the icons. So they added those icons on the skills, and the little shield with the power blast going through it, that's the super guard break. And if you look at all the most annoying PvP skills, they all have super guard break. So if this is going to give you super guard break immunity, honestly, I might have to invest in a couple of these mighty authorities, because that's pretty cool. Not having to worry about that at all. And it's a 5-second buff with an 8-second cooldown, or a 6-second buff with a 7-second cooldown. So you could pop that super guard break immunity almost 100% uptime, because it's 6 seconds with a 7-second cooldown. Now the Steal effect has to trigger. It's not exactly that, because in order for it to trigger right after the 7-second cooldown, you'd have to get hit enough to fill up that purple bar all the way up again. So it's a little bit more convoluted than that, but still, it should be pretty cool. Should be pretty interesting. We have ISO 8 set improvements, so now you can just auto search for the set that you want. So you can just set it and leave and go wash the dishes or whatever, mow the lawn, and come back and, oh, I finally rolled for Power of Angry Hulk. It's still gonna waste as much gold as before, but it's not gonna waste your finger pressing it, and you can just set this and forget this and come back, sort of like what they did for Uru Amplification. This is just a quality of life change. This is good. If they could just skip all of the animations, that'd be even better, but we can't have everything. Menu UI changes. I'm not a fan of these personally. This looks chaotic and messy, but I'll withhold my final judgment until I can actually test this for a couple of days and see if I can get used to it or not. We also have dispatch mission rewards, where you now can collect a reward by acquiring and then just hit next reward instead of having to, find the button and drag across the screen. This is basically the second best option. The best option would have been acquire all button, but I'm guessing that they don't want to give us an acquire all button because it would make the calculations for the crit rewards a lot harder to do. So for those of you that don't know, when you acquire all, there's a chance that your dispatch rewards, the passive rewards, will crit. So normally you collect your rewards after it fills up the gauge and you get like whatever, 10 to 15 to 20 of the tier 3 material or the awakening material. But sometimes you press the button and you get like 100 of it. It's a lot. It's crazy. It's really cool. And I'm guessing if you just press acquire all, it might be harder for the game to calculate all of those crit chance rolls because you have to do it up to 10 times, right? So yeah, this is fine. Again, it just saves time, quality of life thing. This is nice. Not a big deal, but it is nice to see them still making quality of life changes. We have the new future pass. Nothing too spicy here except for the icons. I really like all 3 of them. However, if you look at X23's lips, they grow and shrink, which freaks me out. So I think I'm just going to go for Doctor Doom and Captain Marvel. Thanks for listening. But yeah, I think they all look really good this time around. We have a new uniform collection as always. We have new improvements to Legendary Battle as far as, you know, you want this reward, just press this button. So it's just, again, another quality of life change. Another quality of life change, you can see how many of these materials you have just by sort of pressing on it with your finger or whatever. You can see, again, I like that change. They're also going to be dangling the world boss reset option in front of agents that are below VIP level 2. So basically, they're not changing the reset today's world boss. You're still going to have to be VIP level 2 to get that effect, that bonus. But instead of having the button be disappeared, like not be there, if you're VIP 0 or VIP 1, it'll still be there. But when you click on it, it'll say, hey, you got to get up to VIP 2 to use this feature. So it'll be easier because then you don't have to explain it to people because they can just figure it out for themselves in game. They've also added Mockery and Steal, the new effects. The Blue Marvel's taunt and then the Steal effect on the Authority have been added to the glossary. They changed some token names. And then they made a bunch of error fixes. They made actually a lot of error fixes. If you look at this, there's 20 error fixes. So again, these are good things that sort of go under the radar. They fly under the radar. But they did make a lot of changes. Some of the biggest changes are number 18 and number 19. So Strife getting locked in Danger Room Extreme after, you know, not coming down after jumping up has been fixed. Players that reach 999 on their the players that reach 999 maximum proficiency were able to use the same characters over and over in Danger Room Extreme and still get points, which made the balancing completely broken. So they fixed that. So penalties not being applied under certain conditions when reusing characters. So the penalty would be you don't get any points. So they fixed that. They fixed a whole bunch of other things here. You know, there's too many to name here. I'm not going to read all of them, but there are some other good ones here that might have been affecting you. So yeah. Now, that's it. There are no content improvements. There's no new bosses. There's no new game modes. And I think that's going to upset some people. And I also think that, you know, this is the sort of community feedback portion of the video that I was talking about at the beginning. I'm going to try to make this brief because the video is already really long. But basically, I have seen this sentiment rising in the community the last few updates that there's no new content. And to an extent, I agree. But I also disagree, and I want to put it into perspective. But I also want to talk about the fact that some players, and again, this is not everyone in the game, but I do see this in the community, some players are upset that the uniforms are not complete reworks, i.e. 5 brand new, never before seen skills. And I want to use something called recency bias to explain why we've never had that, or not that we've never had that, but we don't actually have that in every update, and we shouldn't be expecting it now because it's never been the case in the past, okay? So I'll explain both things. So first things first, as far as the no new content, it's true that the last 3 updates have basically not had any content, except that they have. In the last, if you count this update and the Ultimates update and the Black Order update, in the Black Order update, we had Super Giant World Boss Ultimate. Now, you might not be playing Super Giant World Boss Ultimate, but that doesn't mean that it's not content, right? 2 updates before the Black Order update, we had the Dispatch missions being introduced. Again, you might not be playing Dispatch, but that is new content, right? A couple of months before that, or a month before that, we had Mephisto World Boss Legend. Now, You might not be playing, say it with me now, you might not be playing Mephisto World Boss Legend, but it's still new content. And then 3 months before that, from March back to January, we had Null, actually, but earlier than January, we had Null World Boss Legend. So in like 7 months, we've actually had 4 pieces of new content, including 3 new bosses, which is probably some of the hardest content to make because it requires, you know, modeling and creating all these animations and these attacks. And especially when you compare the quality of the boss fight and the uniqueness of the boss fight, Null and Mephisto are some of the coolest boss fights in any mobile game. And Supergiant is actually very unique as well, with, you know, Iceman coming in and doing attacks, Black Bolt coming in and doing attacks, the lasers, there's all these different effects happening. And you compare that in simplicity or complexity to very simple World Boss Legends or World Boss Ultimates like Proxima. She just throws spears, right? There's just spear attacks, that's it. It's very straightforward. She has like 3 different animations. Supergiant has like 7 animations, 8 animations. So to say that the quality of content is going down is completely wrong in my opinion. To say that the quantity of content is going down, in my opinion, is also wrong, right? What other mobiles game? How many other mobile games do you know that get 3 new bosses in 6 months? Go show me. Especially end game bosses, not like easy peasy like event bosses where you just slap them once and they die, kind of thing. You know, Supergiant's actually pretty challenging for a World Boss Ultimate, even with my 20% peers. So yeah. Do I want more update? Do I want more content in my updates? Sure. I mean, we all want more content. That's, you know, if we lived in a perfect world, we would get content every single update, but that's just not how it works, right? That's just not how it works. And I think, again, people just forget, or because they're not playing a piece of content, they think it doesn't exist. It definitely exists, right? And so you can't just discount the work that the devs are doing because you're not playing the content. That's not really fair. The other thing I wanted to talk about very briefly, again, sorry for the video being so long, is the fact that new characters, like, you know, they recycled Dr. Doom's first skill. They recycled Dr. Doom's third skill. This is so lazy, right? Oh my gosh, Hulkbuster, they recycled Hulkbuster's 1 and 2 skill. They recycled Quicksilver's 4th skill. Sure, they did do that. You're absolutely right about that. And they've been doing that forever. They've been doing that forever. Some characters get full reworks, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, brand new skills, but not all characters do. I would argue that most characters don't get all 5 skills recycled, and I would argue that the complaint of players saying that skills are being recycled has more to do with players being worried that the character is not going to be very strong. Because a character like Black Panther had 3 or 4 skill changes, almost 5, but because Black Panther wasn't strong, that was what people complained about, right? But if Black Panther had been strong and had a bunch of skill recycled skills, players wouldn't have complained. A really good example is Human Torch, right? People saw Human Torch in the live stream with Cage and Kim for the 6-year anniversary, and they were like, bro, Human Torch is terrible. There's no skill changes. They just recycled everything. He's garbage. This is so lame. These devs suck. They're so lazy. And then, of course, Human Torch comes out, and all the content creators and players are like, whoa, Human Torch claps. Human Torch is really strong. And then all those players that were complaining just stopped talking, right? Because they weren't actually concerned. They weren't actually complaining, or their thing wasn't about skill recycling. Their thing was, I think Human Torch is going to be bad, so I'm going to complain preemptively because this is my personality. And then when it turned out that Human Torch was really good, they had nothing to say. So I think that a lot of players complaining about recycled skills are just worried that characters are not going to be strong, and they don't actually care about skill recycling. And if you don't believe me and you think that this is just a recent thing, take a look at Moon Knight. Go ahead and tell me how many new skills you think Moon Knight has. Again, I'm cherry picking characters, but if you actually go back and look at every single character who got a uniform, you'll see that there's actually a lot more skill recycling than you think. Some characters get a full rework, 1 to 5, like Valkyrie, for example, or Rogue, but not all of them do. In every update, you'll find characters that get skills recycled. Thor has a couple of skills recycled in his Herald Thor uniform. Gambit has a couple of skills recycled. Even Cable with the Kid Cable uniform has some skills recycled. It's just the name of the game. It's always been like that in Marvel Future Fight. People just don't remember because of recency bias. So let's take a look here at Moon Knight, and you can go ahead and watch his old, go ahead and play his old armored uniform. I've already checked this, so I know the answer, but they basically just enhanced his second skill, his fifth skill, and his first skill. There are slight enhancements to the number of hits and to the animation, but otherwise these skills are basically exactly the same as they were. The only brand new skills that Moon Knight got was number 3, which admittedly looks really cool. He throws a grenade at you and walks away. And 4, he pulls out a shotgun and he blows your face off. Now, I'm sure no one complained about them recycling Moon Knight's skills because they were too busy gushing over a grenade and a shotgun, which look really, really cool. But the fact of the matter is, 3 of his 5 skills are recycled, and no one complained. At least, they don't anymore. Because A, they know how good Moon Knight is, and B, the 2 skills that they did replace are really cool. So I really don't have an issue with the devs recycling skills. In my opinion, I just want the characters to be strong enough to be used in content so that everyone can get a fair shake. And that's the other thing that I wanted to just leave off in the video, is that I think another part of the discontent that some players have actually stems from the fact that these are not the most popular characters. Like, Doctor Doom is really popular, don't get me wrong, but after Doctor Doom, there's a huge drop-off before you get to, like, Quicksilver, and then there's another huge drop-off before you get to, like, I don't know who's next, War Machine, maybe Hulkbuster, right? These are not A-list or even B-list characters. But I want to warn you, I want to just, you know, give a warning to the players that are complaining about these updates, like, oh man, the Black Order update was boring, or the Ultimates update was boring. Again, I'm not talking to all players here. I'm talking to, unfortunately, like this 5% minority. But if you don't want to see another Captain America uniform, then these are the updates that we have to have. And that's why I'm really excited when underused characters get reworks, because that's what we want, right? Because if it's not these underused characters, it's going to be the same characters over and over getting, you know, uniforms over and over, and we really don't want that. So yeah, maybe just think about those things, put that into perspective, and hopefully you can enjoy the game, because I'm honestly loving the game. I think the game is as good as it's ever been. I think it's definitely still peaking, and yeah, just some food for thought. So thank you so much for watching the video. Hit me up in the comments down below, let me know what you think of the patch notes, and I will see you in the live stream tonight for the update, for the actual update. Take care.